seen that.
Is this, am I allowed to sit down on the meeting?
Yeah.
Are they going to send us photos of the new photos of the carpet in the hall or not?
They were
No.
going to, yes.
I haven't seen you.
No.
I hope so.
I've seen something
Something a
about they
bit
need
more
more money
detailed
for,
would be nice, wouldn't it?
they need more money for a
No,
projector.
not the report, the carpet.
The report that stated the obvious.
It's a bit like, what were we saying with the Rams, wasn't it? It's that much, there's no more.
Thanks. You know, I thought they were going
We're
to
all, okay.
give us some more.
Thank you, councillors. Welcome to our November meeting of council. Declare the meeting open. In doing so, I'll read some statements, the live streaming statement. Liberal River Council wishes to advise members of the public that the council meeting will be recorded and will be available after each meeting on the council's website. All care will be taken to maintain the privacy of those in attendance. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event your image is broadcast. This includes any filming by television cameras if attendance is approved by the General Manager or Mayor. Item 2 is the acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge that we're here today on the land of the Wamba Wamba Prepper people. I'd also like to acknowledge and pay my respects to past Aboriginal elders, the present Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within this area and their future generations. The statement of purpose. I have come here as a councillor, freely and without bias, to represent the views of the community in considering the matters before us today, to vote in a matter I consider to be in the interests of the community, and to observe the code of conduct and respect the rule of the chair. And respect the rule of the chair and the views of my fellow councillors. Moving along, apologies. I think we've got an apology from Councillor Metcalfe. Someone like to move that be received. Councillor McCrabb, second by Councillor Wallace. All those in favour, being carried. Confirmation of minutes. Now there is quite a few. There's the ordinary council meeting of the 15th of October, the extraordinary council meeting of the 22nd of October, the extraordinary council meeting of the 9th of October, and the extraordinary council meeting of the 5th of October. They've all been November. Sorry, Pat. Thank you very much. They've all been circulated, and probably instead of doing each one individually to note that they've been received, we can do
the block.
Councillor McAllister, second by Councillor Fogarty. Any questions, comments? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Well done. Now, the next item is item 9.1, and I've been asked to make sure that councillors are aware of what the minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee held on the 30th of October are there, and one of the main things that came out of it was in regard to the statements that we have and the interaction of the Rural Fire Services organisation with their assets shouldn't be on council's books. I think that's the basic, instead of reading all the detail.
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor.
And it's a situation that has been well versed in the old Conago, and I don't know about the Denny side, but it went through the Audit Risk Committee. Would you like to make any comments at all? Nick?
It was a misstatement, if there's anybody who knows what a misstatement is, but anyway, that's what it's called. And it was more around the plant equipment of the Royal Fire Service being on the books essentially. The building here is virtually on the books because we own it and we came through the funding stream. So it's more about the plant and equipment part of the Royal Fire Service bit. So Graham he was fairly strong on the fact that it shouldn't be there, and it was duly noted by the audit committee that we don't and will not recognise any plant and equipment of the Royal Fire Service. on our statements.
And what was the reaction from the, sorry, councillor Wallace?
I was just going to ask, what was the reaction from, do we know what the other councils?
No, they're all
Treating
they're
it.
all in the they're all treating the same line. So
And Graham, through you, Mr Mayor, Graham is pushing that same line with other councils that he has anything to do with and trying to get, well, I think he is getting some traction.
Right.
But it's on page 27 in that, if you want to, it's the last two recommendations there that Graham, he moved those, but yeah, it's the last 4 and 5 that relate to this conversation.
Just a query, just through you, Mr Mayor, just where does that leave us if, in the case of we were selling surplus fire trailers there a couple, 12, 18 months ago? If it's not on our books, how would we sell them?
well, they were obviously Carnargo Shire's assets because the Royal Fire Service never recognised the Trallians. So they were actually assets owned by the old Carnargo Shire.
We're on the old Shire books, but not on the Rural
Yeah,
Fire Service books. They wanted nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Councillor Fogarty?
Have we had any response back from the Auditor General in terms
Read
of,
my wine.
the statement?
No, the auditor on the day, she was comfortable to take it because she understood the reasoning behind it. And essentially, it's just the principles that the audit, general, whoever, or the New South Wales Audit Office, they sort of say it's a misstatement because we're not recognising it. We're saying, well, we don't own it, so we're not going to recognise it, and that's the way it's going to be. So that goes back to them and sort of plays ping pong and essentially goes nowhere. But at the same time, Graham has been making high level representations on behalf of all New South Wales councils on this very same issue. And I think he was 1 against 13 the other day in Canberra. So, and I think he went okay. Auditing, just arguing this point about Rural Fire Service, virtually they're moving assets, not assets like this, because there was no way we could get out of this one.
And he's been at that argument for a long time.
Oh, yeah. And that's what Pete's saying. He's got to a stage where, he had a 1 on 13 with the audit. So, and he was the only one sort of arguing, that he was arguing for all of the councils in regional New South Wales, essentially.
So by receiving and noting the minutes of that meeting, councillors affirming that.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Questions? Paul? Councillor Fogarty.
Has this been a topic that's been raised with the Local Government Association?
Yes.
And what's their view?
I don't know what their current view is, Pat, but this has been raised for the last 20 years. And
That long?
Yes. Yeah. And they've been fairly consistent, but essentially the Local Government Association is virtually saying, well, whatever councils want to do, they can do.
Okay.
And it's up to the individual council to actually do what they want to do, Pat, but it's a point of principle. If you don't own it and you don't control it, why should it be on your books?
Yeah. No, which is so similar to this.
Oh, this is similar, but the funding for this came through council, so it had to be.
Okay.
The other part of it too, Norm, was that there was some, and I think I've mentioned this before at the workshop, about the audit committee coming and talking to council. So I don't know whether, is that being arranged?
3rd of December.
3rd of December.
Yeah, I would totally encourage that because we need to get our heads right around it.
Yeah. So and you've invited all the audit committee?
So the audit committee meeting has been brought forward to start at 12, I think, to enable them to sort of come in towards the end of the workshop.
Right, very good.
Go straight into the meeting.
I think that was about it, wasn't it?
Yes, I'm happy
It
with
was,
that.
it was
All right.
one of our more interesting meetings. wasn't it?
Councillor Councillor McCravens has moved the recommendation that we receive and note the minutes. Seconded by Councillor Ball. Any further comments? All those in favour? Against? Carried. 10.1, mayoral, councillor and general manager meetings. There's a list of them all there. What's happened for the month of October? Any questions on those? I just might make mention too that we've got the Kennedy Health Advocacy Group or the Health Action Group, another meeting today at 5:30 here, which Jill Ludford is in town. And so we've got I've organised a meeting for her to be with the HAG group. And also we've got a one-on-one with Pat, myself and Peter with Jill Ludford at 1 o'clock, so we can just direct issues that we currently have, such as, you know, apparently there's 1.6 million announced, and I'm still trying to find out what's it for.
For the emergency department.
Well, yeah, but we've already received money for the emergency department. Is it further development? You know, just to clarify, so we know exactly right. But we can just have a good chat with Jill and try to build some bridges. So anything else on 10.1? Someone like to move that we note those minutes? Moved by Councillor Betts, seconded by Councillor. Who's got a tune? Councillor Fogarty. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and then that way you can go. Yes, yeah, okay, thanks. Mark's just pointed out that Peter Hines is in the gallery, and 10.11 it relates to that DA, so we might move that forward instead of having Peter sit for 2 or 3 hours, and we can move that forward and we can deal with that now.
298.
One morning, Barry. Yeah.
So the report is for a subdivision modification for a 9-lot subdivision at lot 9, DP 790826 at 201 to 209 Hetherington Street. The application was originally approved in 2015 for a 7-lot subdivision, and the application is now to be modified to provide a 9-lot subdivision. And the recommendation that the application be approved and conditions imposed as per the attachment 5.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Fogarty. Any questions? Comments?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, it's really encouraging to see subdivisions occurring, particularly of 9 lots and the like, so well done.
We need division. Right. We need a division for this, a DA. Councillor Fogarty,
Aye.
Councillor McCrabb,
Aye.
Councillor Betts,
Aye.
Councillor Hall, Councillor McAllister,
Yes.
Councillor Wallace,
Aye.
Councillor Bull, and the Mayor's yes. Thank you very much. All good? Just saved you 2 hours, please. Go back to where we were, which is page 30. Resolutions of council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is just the monthly update on resolutions of council, and again, if there's any questions, we can try to answer them or get back to you again.
Information's there. Have we got any questions on any of those developments? I noticed there's they're all in the right colour.
Very good to see.
No comments? No questions? All right. recommendations here that we note and receive the information for the, as of the 10th of November. Someone like to move that, please? Councillor Wallace, second by Councillor Fogarty. Any more comments? All those in favour? Yes, carried. 10.3 is the annual report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the annual adoption of the annual report. So it's a requirement under the Local Government Act. The council adopt an annual report each year within 5 months of the end of the financial year. It was extended this year till the 1st of December due to the impacts of COVID. But it's also a good opportunity to look back on some of the achievements and some of the great things that we've achieved over the year. Again, just a few I picked out from the report would be, again, our ability to hit 88% on our up plan targets, even with the impacts of COVID, was a pretty good achievement across the organisation. The Reval project was another massive project that has a huge impact across the organisation, and it was a big project to get finished. And then just again to note the award from the Local Government Excellence Award for the work on Napier Street was another big achievement through the year. So again, the report is here, and it's recommended that council adopt the report for 2019-2020, and note that the annual report will be submitted to the New South Wales Minister for Local Government by the 31st of December.
Thanks, Ollie. Recommendations here. Any comments, questions?
Comment, Mr. Mayor. I love the really interesting photos that were in the report and the layout of the report and the content that we've discussed on numerous occasions, and it's great to see the content, but I love the way it's being laid out. It makes it look like a very enjoyable read for people.
Yep, that'll be great.
Rather than just a boring report.
Yes, I agree. It looks great.
Thanks, Pat. All those, got a mover for the recommendation?
I'm happy to move it.
Moved by
Yeah,
Councillor
I'm
Fogarty,
happy to second
second by Councillor Bull. No further questions or comments? All those in favour? Against, carried.
So I should say on that also, Mr. Mayor, well done to the staff who put it together and presented it.
They're raising the bar all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
10.4 is the Combined Delivery Program 2018-2021 and the operational plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just the quarterly update on the status of the operational plan. Again, it's a requirement that we give council updates on the operational plan on a 6-monthly basis, but we have chosen to give them on a quarterly basis to keep council informed of how we're tracking. Of 121 targets within the current operational plan, 12 are complete, 76 are on track, just 33 haven't commenced, and thankfully there's none behind, notice of being behind or needing urgent action at this stage. So again, it's good work on the behalf of the teams that we're tracking pretty well at the moment.
No red dots.
No red dots here.
Not even.
Thanks, Holly. The recommendation is here to note and receive the report. Someone like to move? Move Councillor Wallace, second Councillor Betts. Any comments or questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. 10.5 is, good morning. The investment report for October.
Good morning, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and the councillors. So today I present the first item, investment report, October 2020. So for this report, the investment has been made in accordance with the council's investment policy. So as a responsible accounting officer, I hereby certify that investment listed in the investment report has been made in accordance with the Local Government Act. And the recommendation for council, the first one is receive the report and note the actual interest received for the month October was 23K, and accrued interest not has been received was 117K. That's the recommendation.
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor McCrae. A second.
Happy to second that.
Any questions?
Just a huge month for ins and outs, 17 million received and 19 million out. I mean, obviously there was rates
Yes, that's right. So for the, due to the last policy, when we did the investment last year, and due to the policy limitations, so the investment for that NAB, we can only invest, under the legislation, and the delegation is only 1 million, even per GM level. So now is we are kind of like reviewed our policy. So now the GM level can reinvest, like up to $5 million, and that's just save us, a lot of paperwork. Because $1 million in as a lot of paperwork. So for the last term, we have so last year, the similar time, we have invested $7 million, and some of them are the rights.
Other questions, comments?
So Amanda, the revenue earned, the investment revenue earned is going to hit that budgeted line and go under it?
Yes, compared with our budget line, I definitely believe the investment under finance, department management, I believe is higher than our budgeted amount. However, we will definitely see a decrease in the future just because of the current, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the market is performing poorly just because of the investment interest rate is not higher than a year ago. So at the moment, our rate for the Reserve Bank, I believe it just dropped the point last quarter or last month. And at the moment, the investment for us, we are receiving around 0.6 per annum. And sometimes if you do the short term, it might be only 0.25, 0.35 per annum as an interest rate.
Moved and seconded. Yes, we have. Any further comments? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, I've made a little bit of a mistake. I'd rather do it in open council than in closed council. But item 7 is disclosure of interest, and we've got a disclosure from Councillor McAllister in regard to item 13.4, which is the Crossing Cafe report there. And non-pecuniary and limited involvement will participate in discussion, but not in voting on the report. So
That's fine.
now, moving along to draft financial statements.
Yes. So
10.6.
Yeah, the 10.6 is our draft of financial statements 1920. So for our a little bit recap in the background here. So our draft of financial statements 1920 were presented to the ARIC meeting, Audit Risk Improvement Committee, on 24th of September, and on the 30th of October, ARIC meeting has endorsed our financial statements. And for the past 2 months, finance team has been working closely with the auditors, engaging auditors, and also New South Wales Audit Office. And last week, we have received a conduct of audit report, which has expressed the opinion as of yesterday was unqualified opinion, which is all green light for our financial statements. So a little bit of background here. The 1920 financial year, we definitely saw a major infrastructure asset revaluation exercise, and that resulted a decrement in the operating financial result of the council. So the negative change is mainly due to $11.4 million loss on the revaluation of infrastructure asset, net losses from the disposal of asset of 2.6 million, and a 3.3 reduction in operating and capital grants and contribution. So that is a exercise we are required to do according to the legislation and accounting standards. Every 5 years, as a council, we are required to do the revaluation exercise. And this is the first time since our merger amalgamation happened. So since 2016, so this is our first time we have done this exercise. In the report, page 152, I have put a current status just regarding the process for our financial statements. So today, one of my recommendations is recommend the council to adopt our draft financial statements. So I can lodge that one with the New South Wales Audit Office, and then we can lodge the financial statement to the OLG. And after that, we will delegate so please, the council will need to delegate to the general manager the authority to submit the financial statements to the OLG, and then we will exhibit our financial statements and audit report and call for the public summation. And note the audit financial statements and audit report will be presented to the public at the ordinary meeting scheduled for 17th of December.
Thanks, Amanda. The recommendation is there for the draft financial statements. We'll do it in one block, I think, and then we can discuss. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor McAllister, seconded by Councillor Bull. Any comments or questions to Amanda? No, okay. Moved and seconded. Would someone, all those in favour? Against? Carried. 10 points.
Should we sign it right now?
Before you go. 10.7 is the quarterly budget review statement for September.
So for 10.7 quarterly budget review statements, the preparation of the quarterly budget review statement is required under the clause 203 of the Local Government General Regulation 2005. So the recommendation here is receive the first quarterly budget review for the quarter first, and approve the budget variation as detailed in this report. And if this variation will be approved, council will have a surplus of $12.3 million, and after removing the capital grants, a deficit of 576K.
Reports there. Recommendation, someone like to move it?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Councillor McCrabb, seconded by Councillor Hall. Any questions to that? Comments?
A lot of work gone into that, Mr. Mayor. A lot of work.
All right, moved and seconded. No questions? All those in favour? Against? Carried. 10.8 is the WHS quarterly report. Thanks, Amanda.
Did you turn the air on or did you turn it off?
I turned it on.
I didn't. I can't feel it. I might have taken the coat off.
I didn't turn the fan up, I just set it.
You know. 10.8, Work Health Safety Quarterly Report in your hands.
Thank you, Councillors. This is just our general report that gives you some statistical information about how our WHS and our workplace injuries are going. So we have, which is good to see, we have had a few injuries through the year, but they're not huge numbers, they're one-offs, and now we haven't had any for the last 2 months, which is good. And less lost time injuries as well. If you have any questions, it's fairly straightforward as to what we do. When we have an injury, there's always, if it's a reasonable injury that goes on here, there's always an investigation, and there will be corrective actions that go with that as well.
The number of injuries that you've had, they're not in one area?
No.
I was just going to ask the same
Hey?
thing.
Okay,
Are there any
across-
trends
Yes.
to those
Yeah.
injuries?
The
Yes.
trends are almost always the same, and they're almost always musculoskeletal injuries.
With
So-
office staff
Hey?
in the
No,
office.
we don't have any in the office yet. I do a lot of heavy lifting, but apart from that, no, they're outdoor staff, and we do have an ageing workforce, and some of them, can be related to that, and not so much that older people get injured more, but they take longer to recover. So we have a very active return to work coordination program too. So Jackie does that, and she monitors people who are
Councillor Hall.
Does this show up like any stress-related kind of injuries? as well?
psychological injuries.
Yeah.
Would be reported on here.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of them reported as such though, as workers' comp injuries.
Okay.
I'm happy to move that
All right,
recommendation.
recommendations we note the report, moved by councillor McCabe, seconded by councillor Bull. Further questions or comments? All those in favour? Against, carried. 10.9 is the Christmas closure.
So this has been through EMT and as the same as last year, that we will close for Christmas Eve through to the New Year period. And but we will have all a skeleton staff. So any emergency works will be done. Normal garbage runs will be done. The library, which is now the customer service centre as well, will close at 4 p.m, the usual closing time on the 23rd, and then open again after the New Year period. The Works depot will be the same. The Visitor Information Centre only closes for the 2 days, and then again for the New Year's Day as well. So this year being a Friday, there's no interruption to the garbage collections either. So that's all good. There is an additional holiday this year for Boxing Day, but that doesn't actually impact on this at all. And so that's all other arrangements are there. Our call centre is active at that period as well.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. The previous history has been interesting with them, that they seem to not perform 12 months ago. Have they improved?
To be honest, I, as the customer service manager, have not received one complaint about them. So, you know, whether it's perfect or not, the complaints aren't actually coming through to me about them. I did note that there was one where they had an address, they couldn't quite find an address. It's a Sydney-based service, and you know, some of the more remote addresses might be a bit tricky to find.
So it's in Sydney now, so that it was Nowra or something like that.
Oh, yeah, up around that.
Yeah, right,
Yeah. They have a couple, they have several. They have
That's
a
on the hill.
head office in Sydney.
And probably councillors, I'll just re-emphasise that you probably get calls like that yourself now. If you do, they need to be fed on to Helen,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
she is not aware and therefore can't give the overall. You know, my phone 12 months ago was constantly ringing.
Yeah.
With, you know, there was something out on the Pretty Pine Road and people up there sitting there, I was telling you on council.
Yeah. So if they come to me, then I can get onto the call centre and I can try and work it out with them as to what the problems are. So yeah, I would appreciate if any of those come, just a quick email to me to let me know what it is.
Councillor
Would
Hall.
be
The
good.
query around the staff with the COVID policy as we sit now, the indoor staff, what proportion would be still working from home?
There are only a few working from home, other than the finance staff who have had to move out of the office. So we have a couple who have other conditions that we are concerned about. So there would be maybe 2 or 3. The majority of people are at work.
Right. So
in the
is that likely to be brought back into the new year, that we haven't had an outbreak and don't in delinquent? So I'm just wondering, when's normality look like being normal?
I think normality will be when our estates building is open and we have sufficient room to put everyone.
Right.
So, but there are very few who are at home.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that's
we
probably
might
12
have-
months away
Yeah,
before the
right.
state's building.
Okay, so yeah,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the old office building is pretty ready out in the depot now. So there will be capacity for people to actually work out in the depot when the
Yeah.
building's commissioned there after Christmas. So the building's finished, we're just waiting for the power to be hooked up.
Yep.
And the IT to be hooked up. That should be done by the end of December. So I mean, people will be able to work out in the depot if they're looking stuff for desks as well.
So what type of people is playing might go in the interim? Yeah,
So the project management team, and then there'll be a floating desk for the finance team to be able to work out there.
So half the project manager in, they'll relocate across.
Yes.
And then once the finance team back, that'll be almost everybody back into the office.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Helen, just want to check the skeleton staff that are from the outdoor staff that are available during the closure. They're all available for any bush firefighting. We've got grader operators and truck drivers and things like that, or do we pull them back in as required if there's an issue?
And Ollie can probably tell more about this, but there is a protocol for pulling them back in and
Right.
someone in charge of doing that.
Mark Good, who is the acting manager out there, is working through that program of who's going to be on call.
Right.
And who's actually going to be performing essential services. So that'll all be worked out and documented over the next week or so.
Right, good. Because it is the worst fire season we've seen for some time. So.
And also, I think you've got a new dimension. There's going to be a lot of visitors coming up here
That's
that
right.
we haven't had for a while. So we've got to have the infrastructure for all emergencies ready to go.
Good. I'm happy to move.
Just
Sorry.
a question, Mr Mayor. Are staff happy to take annual leave for the days that are not public holidays and the likes?
Yeah. And there is an arrangement that's been in for a few years, so that if they accumulate any time in lieu over the year instead of overtime, all of that is taken in that
Right,
period as
okay.
well.
Mhm.
Yep, so
But they're given a choice about that. There's a choice.
yes, there
Okay.
is, yep, and
Right.
everyone is always very happy to have that period off, regardless of how they have to take it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
Any other questions? Someone like to move the recommendation for Christmas closure? Councillor McCrab, seconded by Councillor Wallace. No further questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Is carried. We've done 10 or
Thank you.
10.10. School presentations.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this is just the annual acknowledgement of the support that council gives to the schools each year, the donations. Historically, councillors would have gone to a lot of the presentations, but most of the presentations are remote this year. So yeah, the report is just to acknowledge the support we give to schools.
Fine. Moved by Councillor Betts, seconded by Councillor Bull. Any questions or further comments?
I've got a question, Mr Mayor. What does inability registered mean, where the others are none requested, but for the Deniliquin Christian School, we've got inability registered? What does that mean?
Because the mayor was actually invited to that. I did query with them regarding the fact that every other school was going, and they said because they are a small school, they were able to run it at the Baptist Church. And I registered an inability for our mayor as
Yeah, I couldn't go to it, but
fall in line with all the other councils, with all the other schools.
if another council wants to go on behalf of the mayor, I'm more than willing for that to happen.
Busy that
I think it's a Friday night, isn't it? Yeah, it's a Friday night at 7.
So you can have a think about that, and if you
Might do
feel
council
that way
McAllister
inclined,
some
get back to Belinda and she can rearrange it for you. Right. So the recommendations here for the school presentations, someone like to move that? Moved by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Betts. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we've done 10.11, so we go to 10.12. Environmental Services Report for October.
Environmental Services Report for October, just reporting on all the applications received and approved and certificates and dog control for the month of October. Just that the report be noted.
Recommendations there. Someone like to move?
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor McAllister, second. Councillor Fogarty, any questions? Comments?
Lots of DAs are going approved, which is great. Yeah.
Coming in, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Particularly in these challenging times.
So what, interesting point, Matt, what do you think is the feedback on why?
I think we did have a bit of a dip just after COVID sort of kicked in. So, yeah, people have taken a while to come back, but now they're all, yeah. And we traditionally are busy before Christmas, people wanting to get things in, so, and build. It's usually quieting down now, but we seem to be consistent. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, which is good.
So environmental service report was moved and seconded. No other questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you, Marty. The Northern Solar Yard Strategy 10.13.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been an ongoing discussion for a couple of months now. Urban Enterprises did a options paper that has been discussed a few times at different workshops. And the 4 options that they have presented were business as usual, gradual improvements and upgrades to infrastructure and services, which is what was recommended by Urban Enterprises at the time. Major reinvestment and renewal was to divest and close the cattle yards and reinvest in sheep yards. So subject to the feedback and the discussions that have been ongoing, the recommendation from this report is to endorse option 4 to divest and close the cattle yards, to reinvest into the sheep yards and ancillary facilities, and inform Urban Enterprises to complete a draft sales yard strategy that will be presented to council in February.
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor McCrabb, seconded by Councillor Wallace. Any questions?
What's the, what do we hope to get out of their solar yard strategy that we don't already know?
So part of the brief is that they will provide cost estimates and a breakdown of works they recommend to do to try to invigorate the area. And they'll include engineering drawings and estimates. So again, at least it'll have the ability to apply for funding, external funding to do the work rather than council having to use rateable funds.
And the cost?
As far as I remember, they are recommending it from $500,000 to $1 million just in the sales in the sheep areas to really reinvigorate them.
Do you know, just for the
Cost of the strategy.
Or the strategy all up costs about $50,000. So that has been.
Because I know they're a Melbourne-based company that I'm not sure that, have they got much experience in this?
Yeah, they've done a lot in the region. They did Hepburn, they did Swan Hill, they did Echucas, they did Snowy. They've done a lot of these type of things across the region.
Most of those are all new. They're not now new.
Yeah, well, I know they did the one in Swan Hill when I was there, and they did a very good job there.
Right.
One of their principals has been in the sales industry for 40 to 50 years, and he's really their business idea. And then there's younger guys there who sort of do the marketing research and that as well.
It's one of the biggest downfalls with their survey was they didn't talk to people that don't use the yards, which was just, I mean, if you want to see why the yards are declining in numbers, you should be talking to the ones that aren't going there rather than the ones that are. And to me, that was just a no-brainer. But anyway, they didn't go down that path. The other thing, does this include the truck wash?
No, it doesn't.
It's only the sheep and cattle selling. Yep, right.
But the truck wash would be, and what we do with the building, there'll be other items that we need to address down the track.
So on the truck wash, we do have a letter going out to all the regular users. We have asking them for their direct mobile number so we can set up that bulk text option. And we do have a project manager who has started to investigate how we might improve the truck wash.
Well, just one of the things that's come across my desk recently is the costs of running an Avdata system. And Avdata are a very profitable company that make all the money because it's convenient for us to use to engage them. And we probably need to look at other options to make the truck wash more efficient financially, self-sustaining than using someone like Avdata.
Take out and have a look at other options as well.
I think you touched on a point, Peter, there that I had a few phone calls recently that people who use the yards, and one of them was an agent, hadn't seen the draft report, nor had been consulted. So I think what we need to be conscious of, if we're going to do things, we need to make sure the criteria are clearly laid out, who we want them to talk to, and what we caught that up, and was the recommendation, they're comfortable. In fact,
Yeah, you know, they had 2 days at the sale yards interviewing people that were there. Well, they're the sale yard users.
we should
They're
have
not
had a
ones
list
that
of people that you need to go and see. And I think it's a trap for
Yeah,
Ref-
there's no
reference
doubt.
point
We
for the future,
needed to give direction, yes.
So Ollie, the recommendations, the strategy work will mean that they'll look at what we can do with the cattle yards.
Yeah, we will
Is
get
it
them to
looking
that as well.
quite sound
How
at
we
the
might
moment?
divest it, yeah.
So that will mean they'll give us a recommendation, leaving the closing off, pulling the, whatever like that.
Just wait for me to give them a call, to give them the go ahead to get started on it.
More money.
No, it's already included what we've, to DES.
Yeah, the funeral one.
To actually divest will take cost a bit of money as well, I guess.
Right. Moving
Yes.
I've just got a question, Mr Mayor. Look, it sort of relates to councillor Bull's question. It's for the director. In that, is there going to be a very clear time frame to divest and close the cattle yards? Because I think once this is out, we all need to be really clear on what the plan is.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, we can ask them to make sure that there's a time frame. At the moment, we have been waiting for the strategy to advertise the contract to run the sales yard. So this will give us the capacity also to do that. And as part of that new contract, we can make it very clear that the sales yard, the cattle section is closed.
Right.
So yeah, I will talk to the urban enterprise and make sure they have something in the strategy around it as well.
Because we will get phone calls.
Yes.
Do we have input into the new contract?
Oh, yeah.
Because that previous, obviously, what was in the previous contract with the operators at the moment hasn't been adhered to, and we need to make sure, whether it's a new contractor or the same, that the maintenance items are, and you know, cleaning out of the yards and all that happens.
So when we bring the strategy, we can bring the existing contract, so we can be discussed at the same time. So
that'll come through us. Yeah, good. Thank you.
You know, I think one of the key things that convinced me was that there was a thought that Finley was going to close the cattle yards, and therefore we might get increased turnover through the cattle yards here. Well, that's been, I spoke with Rowan Perkins and Matt Hannon over at Berrigan, and they're investing $1 million in their cattle yards to make sure they last there a lot longer.
And they're having twice as many sales as we are.
Yes.
Yes.
And I
We
think
need to just communicate clearly with the agents and people who do use the cattle yards. So
Yes.
there's no misconceptions.
And the fact that they're out of bounds, off limits. I mean, if we shut them down or say we're not going to use them anymore, so we don't do any maintenance there, the liability issue skyrockets because there's still people that use them unofficially for unloading cattle or whatever that shouldn't be, because we've got no means of locking them. So that's something that will have to happen in the short term. Some ability to stop casual users using the yards.
Well,
because the risk is still ours.
Yeah, correct. We'll have to secure them somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know what the form will be. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, well, that's probably part of the strategy I would see is, it's all right to close it, what are we going to do with it?
What's
It
that?
can't be just turned as an eyesore and let grass grow through.
I
it.
know that. That's what Pat's getting at.
But it's got to be is it going to be a 2-year completely site clear off? It's going to be an expense to council, so we've got a budget for that. Or do we look at selling that part of that part of to a private entity? There've got to be some strategies around what we do with it. We just can't say, right, that's it. And we've got no responsibility. We have got a responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's going to be ongoing.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a looking after with no one there is probably just as important as we don't want to become an eyesore as worse than it is now. So I think that's a strategy in its own right. So we've got to look at that.
Where are we? Moved and seconded? Yes.
We have, yeah.
Any further questions? All those in favour? Yes. Carried. 10.14 Conroy Street.
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by councillor McCrab, seconded by councillor McAllister. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be questions and comments, but I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, the report just leads on from the discussions during the workshop regarding the partial road closure along Conroy Street and sale to the adjoining property owner. Staff are recommending that council does enter into an agreement with the property owners. Investigations have noted that closing that road and selling it won't impact the community amenity of the area, especially given that infrastructure such as footpaths have already been built around it, and there's no other water mains or other council infrastructure that is in that parcel of land. The report also notes just in general the process around the road closure for that. So it's a fairly clear process as set out in the Roads Act regarding council resolution to close the road, subdivision to define the area, public consultation, public notification, and then government gazettal. So it is a process that does take some time. Discussions with the property owners in order to move forward the issue around the shed has been once council makes a resolution to enter it and the agreements are signed between both parties, that the property owners will be able to move forward with the shed. We don't want them to hold up in terms of the shed any further whilst this road closure process is going through. So that was during the discussions, that was something that the property owner was happy to move forward with. Council staff would be happy that once there's agreements in place, that's sort of enough security around the issue that it's then just an administrative task after that.
Thanks, mate. Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Councillor McCrab.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. What's the estimated cost to them, and are they happy to pay that cost?
The estimated cost at the moment is $6,500 plus staff time. I've got a concern around that just regarding the survey costs. I feel, given that we got costing from a surveyor who's already done work on the site, that may be high. So we're still just chasing down other quotes for that. There's also, in that 6.5, there's 2.5 of legal costs through council's normal solicitor. So we've advised the property owner that we are chasing down those costs, that we're a bit concerned with the costs we've got. So we're just chasing down others, so sort of a time frame with that. We just want to make sure that in going back to the property owner, we've got the best costs and we're not sort of high costs and coming down. There is a question around, and I'll discuss with the general manager a bit further in the thing regarding a payment plan around that, which we would think would be a fair outcome for it. The property owner has noted that there's going to be costs that they haven't budgeted for in the project themselves. During the discussions, they noted that they would be up for costs without discussing any costs. So it's not it'll be a new thing when that's discussed with them, but we just want to make sure that the costs are as low as we can get them when we talk to them about it.
So yeah, potentially they may not agree with this.
Yeah, no, they may not agree, and thus the recommendations like these, subject to some agreements there. In our discussions with the property owner, we will highlight to them that if they don't agree to them, the only other option is to take the action. Like there's no middle ground, unfortunately, there's no middle ground.
So they will agree.
Councillor McAllister.
Go,
No, I thought you put your hand up before. Councillor Betts.
Just in regards to the survey, a survey is a survey. So because I know at least one's been done, if not two, on that property, is that something we can't just use what's already been done as opposed to having to get another one? Given, like I said, a survey is a survey and it's not going to change once you've established the area of the land and all that. So is that just a cost we can do away with altogether and use what's already been done?
Through you, Ms. Mayor. Unfortunately not. You're correct in a survey is a survey. The information that we've been presented with at this point has been an identification survey. So it's showing the boundaries, showing some dimensions on that, but it's not a plan of subdivision, which is ultimately the survey we need to submit the plan to get the area declared. So staff's feelings is that the surveyors have already done all the field work in order to prepare the surveys to date, and that's where it is. A survey is a survey, and therefore the cost should only be around the preparation of the plan and that submission. And that's pricing seems more on if it's a new project and the surveyor hasn't been on site. So that's the general sort of thoughts.
I think just in the recommendation, Mark, the owner agrees to pay all costs relating to this matter. Now, you might try to make sure the costs are fair and reasonable. That's fine. But if she starts to query the cost, we go to plan B.
Yep.
Well, that's what we agree.
Yep. Yeah. That's what it says there. And make it very clear on. Yep. Moved and seconded. Any other comments, questions? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Major projects program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our monthly update on our major projects list, and as we've noted a few times, it seems to grow every couple of weeks. More funding coming through. Just again, something to note, the netball facility. So it looks like we're finally going to be able to get a contractor down to resurface the courts. So I had a meeting with the netball clubs that are happy with that, and we will finally get that project finished and getting those courts resurfaced. Wearing Gardens upgrade, we're all aware of what's happening there. It's moving well again now, and Mark and Quara are moving very well down there now. And it's by Christmas they'll have a lot of these Cressy Street site completed, and then they'll move in to do the work on the playground after Christmas. Just the truck stop is one that's still yellow there as well. So I've just had a catch up with some of the team last week just to make sure that we had left $10,000 in that project to allow for a bit of a study about options for future truck stop. So I've just had a chat with the team. We just need to make sure that we follow that up and we get somebody on board to do a bit of research and a bit of a study. And then all the latest programs, all the LCRI ones have started moving. We have PMs on them all. Councillor Hall will be glad to know we do have a PM now working on the dog park, and he was out there over the last few weeks getting information together and talking to some of the group. But yeah, all those projects are moving, and we should start to see some action on some of them now early in the new year.
Just with Wearing Garden and Christmas period coming up, so the Cressy Street side of Wearing Gardens should be completed before Christmas.
That's his program at the moment, unless something drastically changes that is going to impact his program. That's his
And
intention.
when do you assume that he'd start and do the south side of?
For you, Mr. Mayor, Mark, hasn't given us a date for that yet, or I think he's going to wait till after the Christmas holidays as such, mid-January.
Yeah, mid-January, I think would be a better one than the first week in January.
Yeah, and most of those builders will take a couple extra weeks over Christmas, so the January builders holidays. So January, mid-January, they'd start back.
Because you would think that we'll still have quite a few people here for the first and second week in January.
Yes.
And something like the gardens is where you take the kids and enjoy yourself. Oh, that's good. Any questions, Councillor Wallace?
No, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to make a comment that the Barubin lay-by that we installed was a few people are worried about it, but I'm finding that it's very well used.
Okay.
A lot of trucks use it, a lot of the police use it. Yes.
Someone's getting revenue out of it.
I think it's actually ended up being one of the better things that's happened.
I slow them down a bit.
No, the truck.
It does get used a lot.
It used a lot.
And people, caravans pulling in there as well. Yeah.
Do they then go to the hotel?
Well, I think they're pulling in and
They saunter over, some of them.
Oh, that's good.
while they're
Good.
Googling where they're going to stay.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, move it. Second, we haven't got that. Would someone like to move the major project program be noted and received?
Yep.
Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Bull. Any further comments or questions? All those in favour?
No.
Against? Carried. 10.16, plan of management for multiple reserves.
Nice amount of work.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So as councillors are aware, council's been working towards finalising the plans of management for its Crown reserves for some time now. This group is what was considered the generic group of reserves, just in that they all come in under a community use and without a lot of assets on the reserves, and also not having committees. So that was why they were sort of all grouped together. As noted in the report, out of this group, there are still 2 reserves that haven't been included, where the investigations have noted sort of the same issue that was at the NBIP regarding the date the reserves were gazetted, being after 1996, which then has issues around the native title determination. So we're following them up. We just want to make sure that that determination is correct before being endorsed and adopted by council, and expect that those 2 will come to the next council meeting. But with those, that will be the finish. All our
So we've only got a couple more to go.
two more to go because of native title determination issues.
So just a question. It's a fair bit of work in that being done, and it's an edict from Crown Lands, so it's our cost.
No, Crown Lands provided $60,000 in funding, which has covered the work that's been done by Dr. John Canella. So Dr. John has done a power of work for this, which has been very good. And yes, we've had those costs covered. Probably around that in moving forward, because these plan and managements were very just the status quo. What it is now, getting a document in place, which the guidelines around the implementation of the Act have allowed to do that, to then sort of move them forward or do other actions around the reserves will be a more in-depth undertaking involving community consultation. Because as we noted, none of these have included community consultation because it was just what is there. What is there now, we'll go through and start getting these out to the groups so that all the groups have what we've got here, and then discussions with where they want to move forward with it.
Thanks for that. Councillor Wallace.
So Mark, how does it leave council with general maintenance and weed control, and is that going to be an onerous issue on us?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Than it was before.
It won't be any more onerous than before. It just allows us to do it. It highlights that, it allows us to do it. We also had 2 representatives from Crown Lands in the office during the week. We have a 6-monthly to 12-monthly catch up with them, and the issue around the plans of management were discussed. Edward Council definitely is sort of at the forefront of developing and getting these plans endorsed. So we did ask them how we're going. We're sort of ahead in the region, and sort of overall the state going very well with it. To discuss not a previous item from other council meetings, but just around the Murray Valley Industry Park, and there was an item around whether there were processes for council to relinquish ownership, depending on how we go with the different options that were put forward at the last council meeting. The Crown Land staff advised that there's not actually a formal process in relinquishing it. It's a discussion, negotiation with Crown Lands, should council wish to proceed with that action.
So the industry park still to be done.
Now we've got the plan for the industry park.
It's not native title.
No, we've got the determination which won't impact on it, and there are a number of actions in terms of EOIs for leasing it out. The last action on that was that if council couldn't find suitable organisation to take up leasing, that engage with Crown Lands to relinquish ownership. So just bring to council's advice that there isn't a formal process for that. It's a negotiation, which are always interesting.
But it is possible.
Is possible, but to paraphrase quote the Crown Lands officers, highly unlikely, because
Right.
Crown are looking at divesting themselves of land, not taking on more, so, yeah. But it is possible.
Well, thanks, Mark. Recommendations here, we adopt plans management as per attachment 1. Remove that, moved by councillor Betts, seconded by councillor.
Yeah, I'm happy
Foggy.
against second.
Any further questions? All those in favour? Against, carried. Next item is 10.17, Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Funding Program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, this has been discussed a couple of times at different workshops. So again, council has received a further $880,903 through the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Funding Program. Again, based on some discussions we've had at workshops, we have focused on projects that will really be renewal rather than constructing new assets. We also are recommending that we resolve the issue where there was $100,000 of a miscalculation in the first round of programs in June, where the totals that were awarded to different projects was $100,000 more than there had been in the funding. So the projects that are being recommended is to have a footpath replacement upgrade program. So the only upgrade would be the section in front of Navarina. Then there'll be about $30,000 to $40,000 put towards disability ramps and footpaths. We have a few around the town. We've had a few concerns through the DAP committee, and it's just an opportunity to use some money to resolve some of these issues. And then to identify areas that have footpaths that are in poor condition, and the area we've been looking at is around the high school, Wellington Street. There's some pretty poor footpaths. There's been 2 trips coming into the high school in the last 2 to 3 months. So we have done some patching work there, but this would be an opportunity to actually fix those footpaths around that block completely. Skate park renewal. So again, if you have a look at the skate park, a lot of the banks over time have fallen away and there's voids under the concrete. So this again will be an opportunity to fix and resolve some of the safety issues down around the skate park. The fence in the Island Sanctuary. So that's what we're recommending is the section from where we built the new entrance towards the water tower to take out that 6-foot fence with barbed wire on the top of it and put in just a low fence just to improve the look and to do some repair work and maintenance work within the Island Sanctuary just to
Just on the Island Sanctuary, the entrance, they've still got that looks hideous. Are we doing, what's the proposal there to beautify that some way to, I thought we were talking about maybe.
Where the bridge went out, you're talking about?
Yeah, where the bridge is
Oh,
gone
from
out,
entrance.
to put a plaque or something like that, or get rid of that.
Yeah.
Mesh.
The intention is to put one of the signs there. We just we're doing it as part of the signage strategy. So I'm chasing that up for you as well.
Okay.
Councillor, I walked past there the other day noting that there's still two panels of temporary fencing, which I was aware that discussions I had with staff was that that was open and the railing fixed up as was the intent and discussions previously. So we'll definitely fix that up so that that is open, and then with the signage as the director.
Because it does look a bit
Yeah,
ordinary.
no, that's a fair point.
Yeah, we have had some feedback recently, which has drawn my attention to it as well. So we have been chasing it up. And then the final project would be the opportunity to get some of our gravel roads and import good quality material. And as I mentioned, the likes of the Togmull Road, which is a high use road, and then Mooney Swamp Road, which is a low use road. And it's a way to try new material and see if the roads hold up a bit better as well. So there are the projects that are recommended, and again, so council.
So, Mr. Mayor, could I ask, the fence down at the Island Sanctuary, is that going to start at the bridge or is it going to be before the bridge?
So the intention would be just from the new entrance and down towards the river initially. And again,
that way, not back this way.
Towards Watertown. Towards Watertown.
Yeah.
That's probably the higher use and probably worst, in some cases, worst, there isn't a bad section up near the bridge as well. If there's enough budget left over, we can look at other sections.
I just noticed from the bridge to the first.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah.
So with the 60,000, we might be able to do the whole lot, but again.
We want to keep some to work in the sanctuary as well.
Well, yeah.
Because the sanctuary's looking very, very tired and quite run down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Through you, Mr. Mayor, what sort of fencing are you just going to go, not going to go high, just a low?
1,100 high, low fencing with just very. Just a
Full
standard
fence?
part. It won't be a black fill fence or a timber fence. but,
Just a,
Yeah, just
yeah.
entry level, just basic fence, just.
Pickets to match the oval over the road.
the other question I have regarding the cost of importing, what do you call it, manufactured gravel?
Engineered stone.
Engineered
Gravel.
rather than, what's the cost differential there? And the reason I ask the question is, for 50 years, we've been using our existing pits, and particularly Carnargo Shire had a very good reputation for the quality of our gravel roads. I think what's changed is the personnel, not the gravel in the pits, and the ability to mix gravel and use, the raw materials haven't changed. The way we manage the pits has changed, and the way we, mix gravel, because it is quite technical. So I find it, we're going to add cost to our road maintenance and renewal programs by importing engineered quality, when I believe we can go back to what we used to do and mix our own loam in our own pits.
Just a point of clarification there, on the Mooney Swamp Road and probably the Tokemore roads, that aggregate came from the Casey's pit.
So we have imported.
Well, no, it came from
No, that was
Casey's.
ours.
Ours,
right.
and it was poor quality pit.
So poorly mixed though, like, and
No,
what
it's
I'm getting
just-
at
it
is
just
some of these roads have
It just
deteriorated.
runs together and everything like that, so.
So some
so-
roads are going to need,
So
better
Casey's
material.
pit has always been an issue out near us.
Yeah.
Because of the poor quality, it's sodic, it's essentially a sodic clay.
Yeah.
So we don't use Casey's pit anymore, and we're getting red loamy stuff from your brother-in-law's pit, and that's very good quality. But on these high-use roads, you're still working with the old Casey's
Stuff underneath.
and you get a wet winter, people, it just goes to motion.
Yeah, I'm getting concerned at the ongoing cost down the track of, if we've got pits that we're not going to use anymore just because we lost the ability to mix it. Anyway, Ollie's got something to say.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So I have Mark Good. I have done a bit of an analysis of the budgeted money that we have within the maintenance program for gravel roads. So we will have a report to council workshop on the 3rd of December to discuss this in a bit more detail. I have done a lot of work on gravel roads. It was part of a regional study when I was in Campaspe. It makes a huge difference to the ability to maintain roads and hold roads together, the quality of material. Our material is poor.
You're going to do a lot more in Balranald too.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is some of the lower traffic roads that I know of that are fine after a rain event because they're not getting a high level. It'll be a waste of money, in my opinion, to put engineered gravel on some of those roads.
And
when
the
there's a
whole-
pit just there.
Yeah, and that's part of a whole of the service discussion. And really, what I would be again spoken with Mark and Warwick and Mark Good now that he's on board is really identifying the roads that have high use.
Yeah.
And really, last year we put about $200,000 of engineering material into the first 2.5K of the Maud Road. And even our own crews have really noticed the difference of the ability of the roads to hold together on those high use roads.
Yeah.
There are also things we can improve within our work practices, making sure we're getting the right crossfall, we are getting the right PI, getting the right mix. The engineering technical principle is that you need a big stone within the gravel to really hold it together, and that's something that our own gravel pits doesn't have. So again, there's a huge amount of theory behind it, but we will bring a more detailed report on this for discussion in December. Councillor McCall.
And I wouldn't be putting too much emphasis on high use, because this part of the Mooney Swamp Road, I would suggest is a low-use road, but it gets a school bus and a B-double of milk tanker every day, and probably twice. So it's not about the use, it's about, you know, what sort of vehicles are actually using that road.
Well, that's part of the equation.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, we've always talked about, you know, road counters and things like that, where in actual fact, we should be actually looking at, you know, what is actually using the road.
So I've also written a draft policy just for discussion. Hopefully it'll be ready to bring in December as well, just to about how we prioritise roads and select roads and for capital investment. So again, I just finished drafting it yesterday, so we'll discuss our EMT next week and again, potentially bring it to council in December as well as part of that discussion.
Pits, and I don't know much about the whole process, but pits, I've been told, have a lifespan. So have we assessed the pits that are in the council? And yes, no, you know, you said Casey's pit.
Well,
you know.
Casey's not being used anymore. So
We should, is it worthwhile doing an evaluation of all the pits that are available?
we haven't got many on, that's the problem.
We have about 50 pits registered on our books because we have to, as part of a quarry manager license, we have to go through it each year. We reckon there's probably about 20 of them have suitable material for, again, for those roads that don't get really heavy.
So what Norm's getting down is that written down somewhere or is that in someone's head?
No, it's all, so we do,
We've got it.
we're required to, like, we have to have a quarry manager and we have to have a license to use them all. So that's, again, it is pretty highly regulated, so it is documented.
Like, it's really essential to know what you've got for our rural roads.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and there has been feedback to me that they've slipped in standard for a variety of reasons, and yeah. So I just think we need to take stock of what we've got, and if we have to import for certain roads that have got school buses and tankers and whatever else might be, or IUs, well, that's part of the process. There.
No, need to move the rest.
Oh, we haven't moved, right. Any further questions? Councillor
Have you double checked the figures? We don't want another 100K to go missing.
I did, thank you.
How many times?
Several.
The original mass was my mass.
Oh, well, thanks
I
for
wasn't
taking
going
the
to point the
responsibility.
finger.
I put that up.
Take your
I mean, I got it through acting general manager John Rayner, so, but anyway, they were my figures.
Oh, we've got to move with that recommendation, recommendations. Councillor McAllister, seconded by Councillor Ball. Further questions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Now, we need to move into confidential counsel.
I'd move that, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Ball. All those in favour?